Good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody's happy, shiny faces bright and early. And I'm going to go ahead and pin this, I think. If I can figure out how to do that again. Why is it moved? Spotlight for everyone. There we go. Okay, great. So today we are learning about the Zorn Palette. So in the email and on the Facebook page, I posted some photo or paintings, both of color wheels using the Zorn palette and also some of Zorn's paintings. So I'm going to go ahead and click over there really quickly to our page. All right, everybody seeing the Facebook page? Nope, not yet. Everybody seeing the Facebook page?
Yes.
Great. So this is basically, again, I send out the email and then I just copy it to our Facebook page. So people have various ways to get it. And each class, I will send out a reminder of the Zoom link. Looks like you guys all had no problems with that. This is kind of an interesting painting by Anders Zorn, of Anders Zorn, and it looks like a very bored model in the background. She's like, I didn't know you'd be painting yourself. What am I doing here? Just some nice bright legs and the dark shadows back there. But what I wanted to show you is really cool here is his palette. So that's pretty neat to actually see a painting by the artist of themselves, self-portrait, with their palette. And the colors that he was using are either no longer readily available or considered kind of dangerous. He was using a lead white, yellow ochre, a vermilion red, and I believe an ivory black. It could have been a coal black. Vermilion is really hard to find. I've only found one brand of paints putting that out, and I think that's Rublev, R-U-B-L-E-V. It's quite expensive and it's unnecessary in my opinion. I really don't know. I mean, if you want to be an absolute purist, I've never had that color paint. And he was also using lead white, which was very common, you know, up until not too long ago when we decided lead was no longer delicious and children should stop eating it. So lead white, also hard to find. You can still order it. I still have a tube or two of it, which I never use. I just use it for weightlifting. It's so heavy. It's really interesting how much heavier it is than a normal tube of titanium white. So for us, we will be using titanium white or whatever the white. If you have a flake white is as close as we get to a lead white these days. It's slightly warmer, much denser, meaning thicker paint. I also have tubes of that, so I could use a flake white or a flake white replacement. But I just put out titanium white today. Yellow ochre, of course, is still readily available. I considered putting out gold ochre, which I just love, but it's a more transparent color. So I just put out yellow ochre just to keep it a little simpler. But in painting number 2, where I'm altering the options a little bit, because, well, I'll talk about that in a second. And then we're going to be using cadmium red light. Medium will work as well, cadmium red medium. If you want to use any other bright, warm red, if you're, trying not to use cadmium paints, which I am slowly moving away from, I don't think I will very often be replacing my cadmium paints. There's just enough other good options out there that I don't really need cadmium in my studio. I'm not sure if I should be scared of it. It depends on which articles you read and which artists who recently passed away. Everybody will be like, well, they died from cadmium or they died from their paint thinner or whatever else. But anybody can just get cancer. So we never really know. But anyways, cadmium paints are probably the most dangerous paints that we're still using in theory. So again, I'm slowly moving away from those. Also, the cadmium paints are expensive. So anyways, but today I did squeeze out cadmium red light because I do have it. I do not have coal black, and I'm not sure if that's truly what the black he used. I'm going to be using ivory black. I would suggest for this to not use the chromatic black. Chromatic black is by Gamblin. A lot of us may have it. It's a wonderful black for
tinting.
Darkening, yeah, for tinting, darkening our colors, because it's very in between. It's not too warm, not too cool, and it doesn't change colors as much as other blacks. A lot of the other blacks want to lean towards the blue, and you can figure that out by just simply adding a little white to your black. If you have a number of different blacks, I suggest actually putting little dabs of them out and just mixing a little white and making kind of a line from dark to light with them and just seeing what they do. Payne's gray is one of my very favorite, kind of very dark. It's not quite a black, of course, but it's very, very blue. And it leans towards blue. And so I may be using that in the second painting, especially if we're doing that forest. I may need a more blue color. Anyways, once again, what we'll be using in the first painting. So this is, as far as homework is going to be concerned this week, I want one painting from you. And if you are feeling energetic, have the time, would like to continue to experiment with the Zorn palette, then 2 paintings, with the second painting being a Zorn-like palette. And I will talk about that here in just a second. So for the first palette, it's titanium white, yellow ochre, cadmium red light, and ivory black.
Question, Michael, were you about to tell us what color you were going to start using instead of cad red? Have you found a good opaque red that you like as a replacement?
No, not a good opaque red. Okay. So I'm just getting more and more comfortable with more and more translucent colors. It's true that the cadmiums, both the red and the yellows, have better coverage than the other colors. So if you like your paint to be quite opaque, you may have a harder search replacing it. Okay. But because I'm becoming more and more comfortable with transparent and semi-transparents across the board. And the truth is, in the recent weeks, when I'm not painting in front of students, I'm only using quinacridone red. I've kind of gone to one red because, again, I showed you guys that quinacridone red plus either the Indian yellow or the lemon yellow or yellow light really makes a very cad red light type color. Of course, it's not exactly the same. It's going to have different qualities, but it's close enough for me. So I'm curious, but it's been interesting. And I found that my color mixing has been a little easier to keep cleaner by just having the quinacridone red. And the truth is, do you guys want to hear palette number 2 that I'll probably use today? Is the titanium white, either Indian yellow or gold ochre, which is kind of a more transparent ochre. I will probably use a brown in place of the red, such as the transparent earth red. Can even use something like a burnt umber, which is a very, very dark red. So it does interesting things. It'll make, the painting will want to get darker fast. But the red I'm thinking that I'm going to use today is the Venetian Red, which is a beautiful earthy brown red and has it's very dense. It has very high coverage. It's not transparent at all.
Could you use burnt sienna?
Is it reddish? Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah, and again, these are just experiments. We're just playing. So painting number 2. So what happened with the Zorn palette and what's going to happen, I hope, for everybody, is you're going to realize, because let's zoom this back out as we're looking at this painting. It's not a great example because nothing in here looks very bluish. But here's the Zorn palette and a color wheel. And you can see how blue these colors get, the grays, and look how green the greens get using the Zorn palette. And so using the Zorn palette was just kind of a eye-opening experience of just like, oh, when you take out blue, your brain fills in that information. If you take
what did you say you were going to use as a black in your alternative palette?
Possibly, sorry, thank you. Probably Payne's gray.
Okay, got it.
So yeah, I'll be curious if I can get super dark with the Payne's gray and the Venetian red. So it'll take some experimenting, but that's part of the fun. So anyways, I would just choose, you know, one of the yellows, one of the blacks or Payne's gray, one of the reds or browns, and white. And the neat thing for you tonalists or you people who are like, man, I'm having a hard time creating color harmony in my paintings, and I would just, you know, it forces you to think outside the box. It forces you to look at your reference and go, well, I can't make that color. I can't make bright greens. I can't make bright blues, but I can make colors that will signify that, right? They're stand-in colors. And again, how do I put the colors around them to make them look more bluish or more greenish? And it's just so interesting and so fun. So this is a color experiment to see, with a limited palette and without certain colors, without blue in our case, what can we do? And it's going to be a slight bit frustrating, but hopefully also liberating. Just go, okay, I'm not chasing the right color. I'm chasing a color in the same family, or a feeling even of a color in the right spot with hopefully kind of the right values. Does that make sense? It's going to be a little bit tough, especially in the beginning. But I just want you to go, yeah, this is fun. It's an experiment. And then try different things. What if we just took out the bright red and we brought back in a blue, and we used a brown instead of, like, you know, maybe we used the Venetian red, a French ultramarine blue, and a yellow ochre. What would happen then? And white. Or, you know what I mean? There's just lots of different experiments you can do with this kind of idea in colors. There's a challenge that some artists do when we get together, is put all the blues in a bag, including the blacks and grays, put all the reds and browns in a bag, and put all the yellows and ochres and maybe even greens, light greens, into a bag. And then every person gets a white. And then you just reach in blindly and you grab one color from each one of the bags. And that's what you get to paint with. So you don't know, you may end up with phthalo blue and a purple and you know, yellow ochre. And so you're just going to make, it's crazy town, but it's amazing once you start figuring out the values in it. You know, you may have no warm colors. So how do you make these cool colors appear warm compared to the other, you know, make other cools even cooler? So it's all about comparative to the values and colors and temperatures that it's next to. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm not going to force you to do the bag challenge unless you really are feeling crazy and want to. Like, I have these great big drawers. I could probably just reach into one of my drawers and see what comes out, because I've got all my tubes, you know, all my reds in one drawer, my yellows. So anyways, if you would like to also do a color wheel of each one of the palettes, the Zorn palette, and then whichever secondary palette you choose, if you are brave enough to do a second painting, you could do a color wheel. Here's another Zorn painting. And they're just beautiful. And of course, he had just magical, great, free brush strokes and stuff. He definitely played up the reds, and he was famous for portraiture. He didn't do too many landscape paintings that I was able to find. So you're seeing, but look at, I think that green, that must be a real green, because that seems impossible to make out of his palette, but maybe. Here's the Zorn palette again with the yellow ochre, cadmium red, in this case, cadmium red medium, and the ivory black. So he's got the yellow here, pure red here, and the black here. So it just starts by adding white to it, and then beginning to add the black to it.
On that, Michael, on the black part, does he start with full black and start adding white and go up, or does he continue down with the like that 5% and then start adding black into it? He starts, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is the pure black with just white up here. And then here it's what is going on here?
Blue?
Well, there's no
Red.
blue in it. It looks like red.
It says red at the bottom.
Oh, traces of, I guess it's, yeah, traces of red. So just a tiny bit of the red plus black. Here's a tiny bit of the red and yellow plus that amount of black. Tiny bits of the, the black and yellow with red, black and yellow with more red, I guess. I don't know. I'll have to experiment with this. This is a pretty extreme filled in palette. I just found it online. It's
Just
you guys,
a lot of color.
isn't it? That is the thing I wanted to show you is if you're just looking within the middle of this, there's a lot of opportunity and options within here of just using yellow ochre, cad red, and ivory black. I mean, and they're beautiful, right? And the harmony. I mean, just look at these top colors going across here, or these colors going across here. There's so much there.
And there are your greens, the yellow and the black on the far right. Those are green.
Definitely, yeah. Look at over here. So anyways, there's a lot of options. So if you're kind of looking and you're like, man, I don't know what to do, you might want to take a quick glance at this palette and just kind of figure out, okay, yellow, red, one. Oh, I see. It's 2 yellow to 1 red, 1 to 1, 1 to 2. Okay, there we go. So now I'm understanding it. Plus 5% black or whatever. Okay, great.
So Michael, does ivory black lean one way or another?
It definitely wants to lean a little bit bluish. Yeah.
And so maybe that's how he gets his more of the green. I don't know. I'm guessing.
No, you are 100% right. Yeah, that's what if you used a chromatic black, it would just be a dulled down gray. It wouldn't go towards green. So that's the test, right? Is adding a little bit. I mean, yeah, this is black plus yellow to get the greenish as well.
Looks like he's using cadmium red medium at the top, it says.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a little bit warmer. So if you would like to use a cadmium red medium, as opposed to, that way this chart would work a little closer to you. Yeah, and I saw a lot when I went and read a little more about it. A lot of people were suggesting cadmium red medium. I went to the cad red light just to create a slightly larger value and temperature range. But that may be shooting myself in the foot too. So whichever red you want to use. Again, we're just playing, we're just experimenting. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing here in a second. I'll be stepping up to the easel, doing these 2 paintings, which I don't have printouts of, or I have bad printouts of because my printer's out of ink. But maybe that'll be okay. And I'll just glance over at the monitor from time to time. I'll try to blow them up as big as I can on the monitor and look across. But let's do a quick look at your guys' beautiful paintings that you've got going on here. Is everybody okay with that? I didn't do any feedback last week, so I'd like to do some quick feedback this week. Maybe I'll just kind of go down the line a little bit here. Laura, tell us a
Yes.
little bit about what you got going on here, please.
Well, I was experimenting with two things, the very directional light that you mentioned 2 weeks ago. And then last week you mentioned putting detail in your shadow, but try to stay in the shadow value. And this is what I came up with.
Yeah, that's
So again,
amazing.
this is a black and white acrylic underpainting.
Great.
So
Yeah, isn't that fun? I mean, if you had just done it, you know, and left those shadows dark, 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 like a lot of people are wont to do, I mean, that's nearly half the painting.
yeah,
And
I
this is so much more inviting and so much more rewarding and so much more interesting. I'm thrilled with this. I think it's beautiful. And
Oh.
look at, I wish I could just zoom in faster than doing this way. Look at the purples, the mauves, the cool greens. You've got some yellowy ochres in here, which should appear warm, but you kept them with, you know, very dark and cool. You've got some transitionary colors, little bits of light, and you've got these kind of transitions from the black to the purple to kind of a mixture where it goes to a little browner to the warmer browns that really, sorry to keep doing it this way, but I mean, that absolutely reads as a little spot of warm, either reflected light or light kind of sneaking through, hitting the path. You can feel the tops of the plants versus the undersides of the plants in the shadow. Well done. I
Thank
think
you.
you could push this, you know, maybe in the future a little more, get a little braver, but this is great.
Well, I think in the future, I'd probably be a bit more careful about the composition, but here I was just sort of focusing on the goal of getting stuff into the shadow area.
Yeah. No, I mean, the composition's great too. I like it. Really
Oh, thank you.
leads us in and rewards us. And I mean, your style, you've really, I haven't known you too long, I guess about a year now, not quite a year.
Mhm.
It's been fun seeing the progression in that short time. And your paintings have this very beautiful stained glass feel to them. I think these would be beautiful, you know, printed up on, I might even try that, printing it up on like one of my sheets of vellum and putting it up on the window and just see what happens.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've done that a number of times with some of my daughter's work, because she paints fairly graphically, and I always am like, what if this looks like it'd be a great stained glass window for some alternate youth goth church? You know,
It's true, actually.
yeah. Very fun, very fun. I don't mind that, you know, you just kind of left your grays back here and everything else for this, because you're definitely focusing into the shadows. And it actually, I love yellows and grays together. Something about that. I'm not brave enough to do it very often. I keep contemplating it. I keep wanting to do yellows and grays together as paintings, like the landscape in grays, and, you know, keeping all my,
But you do. You put a lot of gray green on the cool side of your very luminous orangey trees. And I keep trying to remind myself to go for the grays. And at least here I got at least some of it the way you do.
oh, well, thanks. All right. Yeah, we're always our own worst critics, I suppose. Thank you. I will listen to you today, and thank you.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's
Thank
really,
you.
really nice. And I really appreciate all that you're sharing on here about GIMP and about all, you're really good about sharing kind of the different stages your paintings are going through and the different experimenting. You know, I don't want to hold Laura up, because I know that, you know, we don't all have you know, I don't want you guys to feel like guilty that you're not doing as much or as everything, but it is really neat that you're sharing what you're doing. this is so useful, isn't it? Just to do it in black and white, getting your value structure established and getting your design. This is so intricate. Yeah, it's amazing to me. My goal to myself, and I'll tell you why, is right now I am fixing a whole bunch of big paintings that I just dove in head first. I just literally just started splashing paint on the canvas with none of my preliminary sketches. None of, for those of you who've been with me for a while, you know I have a checklist that I go through when I'm doing well at the beginning, middle, and end of my painting. I'll share that with you guys here this week, of kind of things to make sure I'm thinking about. And now here I am trying to paint my way out of bad design and out of bad value structures and trying to make up the painting as I go along. And I'm just like, these are taking too long. They're too much of a fight. So my goal this year, and I actually wrote it down in my journaling yesterday, was that I'm going to slow everything down, do more sketching, do more color studies. I'm going to do every big painting I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little painting first, either an 8x10 or a 9x12, maybe a 12x12, depending on the format, and make sure I've got my ideas. I'm not going to mean that I'm going to copy it completely as I go to the big painting, but I want to enjoy the big paintings more than I have been the last couple of weeks. And it's in watching you guys, it's in having these discussions of why isn't this more fun? What a common question my whole family asks whenever we're doing our family meetings, or setting up our calendars, or even just gardening projects or whatever it is what if it was simple? What if it was easy? Right? There's always a simpler way to break things down. Or if a big job like in the garden seems very daunting, what if it was simple? What's the one thing we need to get done, right? What's the thing that will lead to the next thing? Let's get, chunking, I guess they call it, breaking it down into smaller pieces. And I haven't been doing that. I don't know if I just got cocky or I got lazy. Let's just call it cocky laziness. And stepping back and doing it step by step, figuring out the pieces and breaking it down into its big component pieces. You guys all know that. You're all smarter than me. But I needed to be reminded of it. Watching Laura, watching all you guys work through these problems and showing me your paintings in progress. I appreciate it. Again, I learn as much from you guys as hopefully you do from me. And a lot of times it is the reminders. So my goal, again, is to do more sketching, to do more planning, to do my checklist, and to do a color or at least a small painting first before I jump in to the big one. So anyways, I appreciate seeing this. This is wonderful. This is the simplified version of it. Is this kind of the first pass through before you added the information into the shadows? And it looks like you kind of took out a lot of the information into is that what's going on there? Or is this a whole nother painting? Oh, can't hear you, Laura, sorry.
Sorry. What I changed in the first one was the ambiguity on the path. Like it didn't look like it was going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have that little sunlight focus. So I don't know if it was for the better or for the worse, but that's the way it ended up.
Definitely for the better.
Thank you. It's gratifying.
So there's a great example of what I was just talking about. I mean, it's so much better to do. I mean, I don't want to say this is quick, but it probably didn't take you hours and hours and hours to do this, and then to look at it, question it, say, what could be better, what could be different.
And when you do the underpainting with acrylics, you can change it so quickly. I mean, it's, you don't get that awful feeling like, oh no, I have to wait 2 days before I can change this.
Lovely. Maybe for our final project, so this is class 4, so we can decide if we want 3 weeks, 4, or we'd rather do one more. We'll probably do one more assignment, and then the final 2 weeks we will do one large project. You guys get to decide, and then maybe I'll do it step by step as I was talking about it, or maybe for next week, I'll do the minor steps. And then the 5th or 6th and 7th week, I'll do the final big painting, you know, maybe 16 by 20 or maybe even quite a bit bigger. Maybe I'll even do like a 30 by 40 just to show you how I approach a large painting. Well, we can decide on that towards the end of class. But anyways, lovely, lovely, lovely. Again, this is so neat to see. I may even just copy these for references for future classes. GIMP, I may try to see if I can download that. It's an interesting program, but man, learning another program on top of me already trying to learn all the other things. And looks like we'll be updating Photoshop or whatever it's called now soon, because my daughter is going to be needing it. So yeah.
Wait, what did you say about GIMP?
If I load it and try to learn how to use it as well.
Yeah, I just have to threaten, I have to warn people. GIMP is not an easy to use thing. I mean, it's because it's open source, it has very little internal UI standards. And I mean, I spend half of my time just looking on the web for how the blink do you do this in GIMP. So if you already have Photoshop and you already know it, you should stick with it.
Perfect. You've talked me out of it. Very cool. I appreciate that. I'd say I'd like add that to my list. I mean, I've got a piano downstairs and a guitar downstairs that have never been touched. I keep saying I'm going to play that at night instead of watching TV, but TV is easier.
The only reason I don't use Photoshop is because I don't want to have to start from scratch on a whole nother application.
Yeah. So that's me with Photoshop. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thanks. You talked me out of it. And that Notinizer app is so simple on the phone. So I love that. All right, great. But anyways, very cool. And I can just pretend you did this on the Notinizer app or Photoshop or whatever. Great. Thank you. Here we are again. I'm going to go ahead and click out of here. Great. Any questions for Laura there before we move on, you guys?
Well, at some point in time, I'd love to have you talk about how you create those structures in your branches.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking maybe I'd do like a little step-by-step sequence of images and post them.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Yes, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I'm going to have to
Let's see
add
how that goes.
co-teacher credit to your byline here. Thank you. Wonderful. You can see another painting and look at how it creates these stripes. It really helps you to see the breakdown in the values. Like, of course, when you paint it, you wouldn't have these, clean stripes. Probably you blend those, but it's really useful to see. In Photoshop, we have a posterization that we can use as a setting. There's all sorts of, different settings within it. So very cool. So, I mean, it's so pretty. Again, like interior designers, use this kind of stuff and it's so neat. The commission I just finished, let me see, you guys probably saw it, was the Rolling Hills. Where did I just put it?
And you can do these color map things in Photoshop, right? You can make these swatches.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a good and simple way to do it, but I don't know that one yet. But just opening up. This is not a great example. They sent me a picture of their house, my last client's. And basically, we worked together to make the colors match their house, or at least go together. We ended up going much, much bluer in the second iteration of this painting because we matched the colors of the walls too perfectly. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it was nice to kind of look at the design they wanted. This is actually a view on their ranch. And they are very much hunters. Pheasant hunting is a big thing out in Eastern Oregon. And so a lot of the colors were pheasant colors, which are just beautiful. And this is not a great photo. It's actually much brighter and greener. These are actually quite green and stuff. But anyways, it was fun to take color swatches and do just like you showed us with with these and just say, you know what, do you want these colors? Do you want these colors? Because they showed me the reference they wanted, and then they talked about the colors, which the funny thing is we ended up going back to the original colors of the photo reference much more over time, but it was still an interesting process, and it helped me to get the clients and to get their okay and to get them comfortable with working with me, just like you would with an interior designer or somebody else. I'm going to go ahead and go past this one, Laura, but you can read about what Laura said about doing more of a Monet style, just basing it on color versus values and some of the struggles therein. Let's get to Kathleen. And excuse me for 1 second. I got to get some water. This coffee's not doing what I want it to do. Can't drink it fast enough.
Kathleen, that is very 3D.
Yeah, isn't it? Jeez. Kathleen, tell us about this picture, please.
Well, I made a lot of adjustments. That's not my final one. I loaded one today.
Oh.
It is my final. But somehow the photograph made the dark area under the tree really dark. So it's kind of weird looking.
Oh, very shiny too, huh?
Yeah, and just, that's not the one that I just ended up with. But I had suggestions from several in the class, and I really appreciated them. And I made adjustments based on those. Yeah, that's the one that I ended up with.
Okay, yeah, so you can see they're much purpler than they appeared in that previous photo. Yeah.
Oh, and you added, is that the grasses under the tree? Is that?
Well, I emphasized those more and I added darks, but when I took the photo, the dark came out as being really dark black, but I didn't know how to fix that really. So I don't have Photoshop, and my camera phone, the camera on my phone does the best it can, but that's what it gave me today. So that was it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's that is always a hard thing. Darks are so reflective. That's why that whole thin to thick thing can be really useful, where you keep your darks as thin as possible, not just so they dry a little more matte. And then, yeah, photography of artwork is that is my Achilles heel. Is that the right way to say that? Achilles tendon, Achilles heel. It is so difficult. I'm just going to throw in a picture I've been working on. You guys have all seen this sitting behind me over time. And the reason you guys see that, the fall painting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The same thing that you had in yours, this very flat horizon line, everything kind of lined up in a row. I actually had in here too. You can see this line across here was the initial line, and you guys probably all saw it. And I just couldn't quite figure out what I wasn't liking about it. It was just, I had just split the painting into the top and the half top. And so by simply coming back in and creating a little bit of an angle, and I could probably pushed it more or done more, but it added just a little bit, I hope, added a little bit of movement to it.
Oh, no, it's nice.
Yeah, I feel much better about it now. And it was one of those ones where I let it sit for a long time, for probably weeks and weeks. Until I kind of was like, I like so much of it, but what didn't I like? And it was that straight line that was kind of, these are very straight horizontals. And then I had this very straight, straight verticals. And then I had this very straight horizontal. And so by making some angles, then I believe it begins to, create a little more motion. So that may be something you want to think about just as far as design in this, but I don't really want you to, worry about it. It looks great. It's beautiful. Nice reflections. Again, yeah, the three-dimensionality of it is really nice. It really reads well. I might want to get a little bit of a transition in your darks here. This big purple wants to become a thing versus just a shadowy area.
Okay.
It's such a shape that it wants to become a thing.
If you go to my album, you'll see all the changes I made as I went through, because I had lots of really good suggestions. At first, all those front bushes were almost the same color as the tree. And so, see, that was my second to the last. And I think that's before I made the bushes a little bit more orange.
Mhm.
And so it went through a lot of changes, but I agree with you. That has a little bit more variety in the water line compared to the one I ended up with. So I think I need to probably work on it some more, but to be honest, I'm sick of it by now. So
Yeah,
I,
move on. You can always come back later.
yeah, that's what I decided.
This class, I don't want anybody to get too fussy about anything. We are just paint and learn, paint and learn, paint and move on. And again, I'll share that critique, self-critique form that I have. And it's fine to leave the painting not perfect, just write your critiques on the back. If I were to do this again, or lessons for the future. My buddy Anton got a tattoo that, funny enough, I've been thinking, and I still may get on my arm, on my painting arm, and it's literally just a spiral with an arrow at the top. And all it means is failing up or moving up. Because it's not just a straight line. Learning is spirally, but we're just trying to grow and learn. Yeah, my daughter is very excited about almost turning 18, and literally I think every night we get some sort of a talk about the tattoo she's going to get, literally the day she turns 18, as far as I can tell. And so yeah, my wife and I are going to go with her and get tattoos, and we'll get one that for the whole family, and then each get our own. And so there's a couple I want to get. All mine now are hidden. Actually, my only one is hidden. So anyways, the spiraling up, I think, is just such a nice reminder of you don't even have to say I'll fail forward, but you can say needs work. Or if I was to redo it, what did I learn?
Yeah.
As I move forward. And this just comes down to possibly just some design, but that wasn't the assignment. The assignment was light and shadow family colors. And I would say, all in all, great job. Really. It's so,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not this one. I think where you ended up is much more successful. If I do, well, let's go to the finished one. Yeah, this is much more successful. I was going to say, just in the shadows, a little bit darker in areas. Great. Any questions or comments on this, Kathleen, or anybody else?
I have a question for Kathleen. Are you happy with this? Can you see yourself going into this style even more and really getting a handle on it?
I actually think that after we did the tonalist class, that I would really like to branch off into doing more tonalism.
Well, today, George.
And
that's funny, because I think this is such a, this is so, it's so anti-tonalist.
Yeah,
it is totally.
It's very intriguing. It's very engrossing. I mean, just these rhythms of colors and rhythms of,
see, these are not my colors.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. I have many a time I've painted a thing, and people have said, "Oh, that's great," and I think, "God, that is not the kind of painting I like."
Yeah, absolutely. Because I love painting with color, but whenever I'm done with them, my high color paintings, kind of even like the last one I did in class, I look at it, I'm like, how do I show this with other paintings? If I put it beside them, it's going to make all the other paintings look like they're asleep. Anyways, one real quick thing again in design is I see this consistent overlap. This is our furthest back, and then this one comes in front of that, this comes in front of that, these come in front of that. You know what I mean? It's very rhythmic. If that's the case, then there definitely should probably be a line of perspective.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because they're progressively coming towards us. This one being the furthest back. If you imagine these as dominoes, right? You just touch this one and push down the grass, push down, you know what I mean? This domino's out of place, but otherwise they're all lined up, one in front of the other.
Oh, okay.
Which is fine, but it would mean that this one is the closest to us.
Okay, so it should have some sort of a line further down the painting, like you had your curved line.
Yep.
Okay. Got it.
And then if you wanted to bring the line back, you would just pop this one maybe in front of that one, kind of a thing.
Okay.
And bring
Well, if it doesn't go into the burn pile, I'll do that.
All right. If it goes into the burn pile, stand way back because I bet you got some cadmium there.
Okay.
Yeah, don't burn cadmium paintings. Actually, I don't think you're really supposed to burn any oil paintings, even though people love posting photos of themselves burning oil paintings.
Yeah. Does Hansa yellow have cadmium in it?
It sure does not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if it does not say cadmium, it does not have cadmium in it. I
Oh,
actually went and bought, Utrecht came out of a line with a line of paints called not cadmium colors,
yeah.
cadmium free colors. So I actually bought the red and the yellow from that. And they're like, I believe they're literally called red and yellow. I haven't even taken the lid off, but I thought I would experiment with those because I mean, that could be really interesting. And it's always seems so bold when somebody says, this is red.
See,
This-
that one's got my bushes, all the golden color. That's how the photograph was.
And I actually kind of like some of these shapes a little better than the all broken up.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. That's just me. I like to try to simplify when I can. Yeah, nice. So anyways, if you guys ever want to see just like all of Laura's or all of Kathleen's or all of Karen's paintings, and I just called off the first 3 people at the top of my screen here. You simply push on their type or hit their name and it just pulls out what they've shared with us. So that's a great way to just quickly isolate.
Can't we go into the albums and do that too?
Yeah, if you have an album built, you can sure do that. Yep.
Yep, mine's in the album.
I'm not sure the album adds any value because I'm finding you have to post things twice, right? Is that,
Oh, that
did
is
you have to
true.
post? Yeah. So it's probably better to do what Michael said, which I didn't realize. You just click on the name of the person in the group and then you get all their posts in sequence.
Probably. I don't know. Let's check out Jill and see if that happens. Jill, are you here still?
Yeah, I had to unmute. No, when I was trying to figure out how to post photos, I made an album by mistake, but I haven't posted anything in there.
Oh, no problem. No
Yeah.
mistakes. We're all learning as we experiment with Facebook as well as our paints. Lovely reference. I
Yeah,
was
what a-
hoping it was your photo because I was gonna be like, man, can I borrow that? Becky's,
That would be one thing I did right if that was true.
it kind of looks like trying to get his line out of the trees a little bit. Fishing right there, like this huge river behind me, and somehow I get it.
Yeah, I
But,
thought that too. Why is he casting into the woods?
yeah,
There's a secret spot there.
he's actually just got a chicken leg on there, and he's fishing for bear.
Guy, but look at those trees and the mist. That's great.
I know. If you like this image, this is going to be a perfect one for today's exercise.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
can I ask, where did you get this? Is it a copyright-free image, or is it just kind of a grab randomly?
Well, I can't say for certain because I think I posted that article that had all the copyright-free sites and I was kind of exploring them. So I don't know if that was one that needs to be attributed or not.
Sure.
but
Yeah, it's always nice to attribute it if you do know the photographer's name. And then the other thing is you can't sell it.
Right.
But lovely image, great. I mean, I'm all for getting our references from anywhere, especially when we're practicing and exploring. And yeah, all right. So
Yeah. Now the photo made those lights a lot lighter than I painted them, but they're still, even the way I painted them was too light.
okay.
See, now, how did I not see this? You posted this and I never saw it. It's very nice.
Well, I'm on the East Coast, so I posted this morning. You probably were still in bed.
Oh, so it's recent.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 hours is all.
3.
So,
Yeah.
so Facebook will probably show me this in a day or two. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if you're well behaved. Very nice though. I mean, I love what's going on up here in this area and stuff. I think this is a great beginning to
Yeah.
what you're after. I just think it's going to take more work, and that's fine. This is, I mean, what you're doing is exactly how I'm starting some of my, well, how I started some of those big paintings. That will be, I'll be working from dark light, big shapes to small shapes, kind of building those up. And that's, you know, kind of my preferred way to work with painting. So you've kind of just got your big shapes. So now if you want to get in there and get any of the leaves, you know, a little more structure, you can actually come back in and even cut back in with some darks to give your structure a little bit. Yeah, this is a very nice beginning. If this were mine, I may have just flipped him to make him facing the river, or something like that. It's also, he's very much a focal point and really close to the edge here. Another thing I may have done is just taking him out, just because, you know, what draws me in, you know, God love fishermen and everything else. And it'll help you sell it if it was something you were going to sell, because, you know, fishermen, there's a lot of them out there, or spouses of fishermen who don't know what to buy them because they've already got all the fishing equipment they need. Yeah, if you guys want to see just amazing paintings of fishermen, look up Brent Cotton. But yeah, I think I've shown you guys his stuff a number of times. Friend out of Montana, he was a fishing guide, so he, you know, anyways, his paintings are gorgeous and his fishermen are outstanding, and boy, he's built a whole career on fishermen.
In the photograph, it looks like you've got the rays of the mist kind of goes in a ray toward the fisherman, and the tree trunks behind him kind of point down at him. I think the fisherman is really very, very much, there are reasons why he gets drawn, and the line too, it connects right to him. Plus some of the reflections in the water just point right at him, kind of like that painting you showed us the other day. That's where I started seeing it, and now I really see it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly right. Yeah, this is a well-designed photo. Everybody wants to talk when I'm teaching. Nobody calls me any other time. And yeah. So exactly. I mean, I actually probably would keep him in there if, you know, especially if it was my own photo. And it's not bad. You just have to be very purposeful about when you do put your focal point in a spot that's not kind of, not, I don't want to say in the middle, but, you know, here,
Right.
here would be the magic spots. But there's so much, like you said, guiding lines, everything else. The other thing is, I'd like you to look at the water. Squint your eyes at it and you see these little highlights and stuff. When we get back to yours of it, you've expanded this so it looks like he's kind of sitting on top of this, like it's like he's literally sitting there versus being in the water. He looks like he's sitting on this part of the water. So just kind of being aware of that a little bit. Yeah, tell me what's your plan going forward, or is this one done, learned?
Oh, no, it's not near done. I'll want to come in and restate the darks and probably make those, I don't know what I first had it all fairly dark, shades of dark. But when I tried to put in the warm parts where the leaves have the light on them, it didn't really show very much. I was having trouble getting that glow without having it be too warm and chalky.
Right. Give me 1 second here, and just going to pull it into our. And then I'm going to go grab this guy and show you what the big difference is. And it's super common and exactly kind of the educational, I don't want to say mistake, but thing that's going to help us. I'm just going to drag these in real quick. Give me 1 second, open with Adobe Photoshop. Trying to do it off screen so we can. All right, so here I grabbed both of them. You can put them a little bit side by side. Make this one bigger.
Yeah, I can see that whole top dark, that whole top area is light, and I don't have it light. I mean, warm.
Very good. You exactly got there before I did. I need it to be just a little bigger, but not so big. But what I want to do is I'm just going to flip them into black and white. Image adjust, desaturate, which is Shift Control U. I mean, that does read nicely though, right? I mean, it's not what's going on over here. What's going to happen when I switch this into black and white is these aren't just light, right? They're warm and they're colorful, right? They're not just white. He's not just adding, the photo isn't just adding white to it. It's keeping it warm and bright. So it's Shift Control U. Look how dark it is, actually.
Yeah. So what's the dissatisfaction with the painting? I think the color harmony is beautiful in there.
Right. It's only comparing it to the reference of what's different. If you're going more for what this is doing, is it's showing us a lot, but the difference is in color versus lack of color, warmth versus, you know, dark cools, kind of. I mean, they're still pretty warm because it's very versus this is all done by light and dark. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Less about color and temperature, just more about light and dark. And this one's more about color and temperature versus only the light and dark.
Okay, well, I'll have another go at it. I think it'll be a lot better next week.
I'm sure. And I mean, if you want to go this direction, it totally works. Still, like I said, I like it looks really nice in black and white. It's reading well. It's
Looks Chagall-like.
yeah, it's nice. So again, it's just kind of, I was only doing that not to put your painting down by any stretch, just to show kind of what another way of thinking about it versus just light and dark is.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful because I'm a little flummoxed at this point.
And that's super common. Again, I talked about that being my issue too, and having that kind of moment where I was, oh, how to make yellow yellower, or how to make warms feel warmer. So yeah, nicely played.
Can I ask you a question, Michael?
Yeah.
You showed us your painting where you had changed the water line. On that, the lights on the trees just like came right forward into your face. What implement did you use to make those
Shut that down.
highlights? What was it?
Oh, I used really crappy shop brushes.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. And so you just splotched it on?
Yeah, let's zoom in with it. Unfortunately, when it comes over, it's not as saturated. I'm just gonna do image, adjust.
But still, look at how, again, three-dimensional, you know?
Yeah, this is darker than it actually is. But yeah, I did all of this with those chopped up brushes. So the
Wow.
chop brushes that I chopped, basically almost every brush stroke, and you can really see how crazy they get. And
That's so successful, though.
I really like it. Yeah, I think I'll just call it textures of autumn, or, you know, fall textures or something like that, because it's all about these crazy textures. The only problem again is it doesn't fit with any of my other paintings, because I've never done an entire large, this is a 36 by, might even be a 48 by 48. Yeah, you can see it. So, you know, and I started with the darks. It was all just big dark shapes. Oops. Big dark shapes.
And the tree holes are shop brushes too?
Yeah, I mean, that's why they're so messy. So I came back in with the lights on top. So this was dark to light, building up slowly. And then where I needed to, you know, I could come back in, because it's a shop brush and I'm just barely patting it. I could let, you know, I could layer back and forth dark to light. So you know, there was areas where I came back in with dark brush strokes to give more form, or where I found forms to be repeating too much. Like this little shape here wasn't there at all. And it really had this kind of very straight line across. and I didn't like it. So I just darkened up above it and then brought the line down to kind of break up this big shape. In the photo, it's just a big dark form. Yeah, and then just kind of looking like, again, I wanted to create, and I still was contemplating even bringing in maybe lily pads or something to kind of bring something into the foreground, but I kind of like the nothingness of up here, the just mess. And this is just letting a lot of that underpainting, those colors show through. I feel like it looks like you're looking at the transparency of the water, seeing kind of the mud underneath. But I love like these little tender or delicate branches.
How did you make those? What kind of brush?
Probably a liner brush. And then at the tops, just the shop brush again. And I've got some shop brushes that I've chopped down in such a way that there's hardly any bristles. And everything looks more delicate than it is because it's on a great big painting. So I'm using big brushes but on a 4 foot by 4 foot painting. They look small. So it looks much more delicate. I can show you here. Let's do Alt N. Oh, gotta get stop share. Oops.
So for a little painting, you'd need a chopped up tiny sable brush or something.
Yeah, so here, again, just experimenting with different types of Zorn palettes or whatever we want to call it, very limited palettes. I did this one this weekend with only shop brushes, and there's no black or blue or anything. It's burnt umber and yellow, gold, ochre, and white. And then it has a red painted surface underneath it. I don't know how to make it so it's not, but that's it. And it look at the greens. I don't even know why these colors look green, because there's no blue or black in this painting.
It's the yellow and the black.
But there's no black. I only use burnt umber and yellow and white.
Oh, wow, really?
And then plus the red undercolor. So I don't know.
What kind of yellow?
I used a gold ochre. But yeah, that was just a, fun 15-30 minutes. I was just I had these colors out. The gold ochre can be quite expensive. It's kind of a rare color for some. Gambling's come out with it, and they're not using real gold ochre. They make their own, so it's much cheaper now. And I didn't find much of a difference between the tubes that I spent a lot of money on. So anyways, yeah, it was fun. But it's all texture. There's nothing designed about it, nothing delicate. But yeah, those shop brushes are fun, and just kind of painting texture was a lot of fun. Go back to share screen. All right, let's get back to photo here. And I see, Jill, that you shared a bunch. I'm just going to keep moving now. So yeah, if you guys get a chance, go through and cheer Jill on, let her know. This one's I just love it. I really do. Just so nice. Yeah, if I've not, and I didn't do any comments last week at all, I apologize. All my computer time, I redid every single thing on my website. So if you get a chance to go look at my website, michaelorwick.com, I've just redid everything about it. Pretty cool too. I made it so I can sell directly through that website, and I moved all my prints over to that site. So instead of having two websites, I have one. It's much cleaner, much more professional. And I put one painting for sale, and it sold within about an hour. So
Congratulations.
What's that called? Case study, right? It proved that it can work, and very cool. It's going to an 11-year-old girl.
Wow. Oh, how neat.
So I will be writing a beautiful, nice note on the back of that painting for dear Olivia. She's starting her collection with one of my paintings. I was her dad's first painting in his collection. So that's pretty neat.
What's your website platform?
FASO, Fine Art Studio Online.
Oh.
If you decide to that you are wanting to build a website and want to use FASO, let me know, please, and I can get you a screaming deal. Like it's like a year for the price of a month.
Wow.
And it is just a great, it is so good. My daughter's building hers right now. Really cool. She actually got to talk with some people at Wyden and Kennedy this week, the amazing advertising firm. So yeah, and hopefully she'll get to go do a shadow with them and go learn about advertising with them. Anyways, let's look at Karen. Karen, is this the paintings that you would like us to look at if we were to look at one of your images here? What would you? Oh, I went all the way to your page. Look at that beautiful. Man, you have all those kids and you're painting. And I recognize this.
Yeah, so that was just me reworking it because I was having fun.
Very cool. So Karen and Laura took the Manuka workshop with me last year. And again, this is kind of one of the views out there, or very close to the view out there. So we did some gorge painting. That was super fun. I had a great time. It was your sister-in-law that joined you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. Anyways, which one would you like us to chat about?
So that one that you're pointing at is me trying to do the cool and the warm families.
All right, well, let's do that one then, because that's kind of the last exercise we did. So again, if you guys get a chance, go through, give comments, give feedback to each other. And yeah, this is a painting I just put on my new print site that I did a while back. This is actually a pretty old painting of mine. We actually did a drive as a family out into your neck of the woods. Karen, aren't you in Forest Grove area? And saw some, geez, lots of film calls. We went and looked and did a nice, beautiful drive out in the country and saw a bunch of the fields that are going to be clover, because the crazy thing about clover is it changes fields every year because it's a nutritious plant for the crops. So you can go out now and scout and see which fields are going to be planting it, because it's starting to grow already. And then in May, early May is it, I believe, when it really all of a sudden everything just becomes awesome. And there's these, we found some just beautiful fields with these low, like 3 oak trees on the top of this rolling hill with a road going up. And I'm like, I am coming back. It's gonna be amazing. So I'll tell you where that is if you're ever curious. But anyways, clover, so fun. Red is a crazy color to paint and a good challenge. In the photo that you're doing here, I actually added the clover into the background fields. It wasn't there, but it looked too separate to have just here and not there. It was like all green and then all red. So very cool. This one has a great sense of perspective with the bluing and the graying of the hills as they come forward. You can even begin to feel almost kind of a greening of some of this. And then as you get into here, really nice, really nice.
And she has the cast shadow there in the foreground.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
On the right.
And on the right.
I mean, in the foreground, like the dark, yeah.
Yeah, these big pine trees that are just kind of doing a little peekaboo over here on the side, or you can see their shadows coming through. Yeah, it was a fun day to go out. I took hundreds of reference photos and did a couple quick sketches that day, and then did a bunch of clover paintings. And I think I sold 2 out of the 5 I did, and maybe kind of was like, oh boy. Kind of got my fill of quinacridone red done. Very nice. I think that you could play up your shadows in here a little more if you wanted to kind of get into like what we just saw in Kathleen's paintings, getting into the shadows a little bit. You don't want to get too much into the far off stuff, but you could within some of these closer shadows, but you definitely did that in the flowers themselves. I'm going to ask that you guys squint your eyes and look at this painting. And you can really see how by keeping them in the same value or shadow family, it holds together so well. Like these striations and lights and darks are great. And then, I mean, how much fun is this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's borderline chaos, but it's beautiful chaos. I mean, that's as much as it's going to let me zoom in, but it works, right? I mean, it holds together. So that really goes to show the importance of the light and shadow family and getting those. It may be a little bit of an abrupt stop in your texture. You know, I may have wanted a little hinting of texture, you know, to kind of fade out as it goes back, possibly, but you know, totally up to you, not good or bad. It's just something I've never seen this view before. Wow, I've made the whole screen huge.
You zoomed in.
Yeah, I don't know how I zoomed in on everything. What did I do? Man, this would be a nice view since I don't want to wear my glasses in class. But anyways, great job. Any questions, comments from Karen or anyone else?
I mean, maybe one, like, so there's little houses in your reference, and you always talk about that friend of yours who tucks white houses in as focal points with little rewards. How do you paint a far off white house without it like blinding?
Yeah, and it is tough, right? Because
The
white,
value, right, without it looking like just a brown blob.
yeah, that is a tough one. Because white things can actually stay very light, like clouds, snow, birch trees. The whites can actually stay very, very bright for a long time as they recede into space. So I would try to really observe them. I mean, you can always go and look at other painters and how they solve that. But yeah, white objects can really stay bright. So you have to kind of pick and choose how much of that, you know, and is it a focal point, or is it just to show that humans exist in this space? You know, a lot of people do kind of like that human presence. Trying to figure out how to not have it huge like this. Yeah, good question.
Control dash.
Control dash. Control plus. Control dash. Aha, get that. Okay, cool. Just inverted it back. Very nice. Yeah, and then I do know that Ramona paints a lot with her palette knife when she's doing structural stuff. She's really good with a palette knife and comfortable with it. So that's, you know, little dashes. Because you've got your light kind of raking across, you could have easily put a little bit of lighter on the left sides of these if you wanted to, you know, and then leaving these kind of in the shadow side. So it's, you know, a little bit brighter, a little bit lighter, but not overbearing. But it's definitely, there's a lot of times where I'll do that and then quickly chicken out and knock it back down. So yeah, it is tough. I don't know if that answered your question at all, but
That's great. Thank you.
yeah, it's kind of testing to see how does it play. You know, what can your painting bear? How much can your painting bear? Let's go back to our main page here.
Karen, I loved your little studies of the muted value changes. Your
Oh yeah, that was fun. That
Field
was a
study.
fun homework assignment, Michael.
it made me wish I'd done that.
Thank you. Good. I see really quickly, Michelle, you've got yours further along. It looks like this is yours, correct?
Yes.
I don't want to talk too much just because this is from the previous class. But man.
No, this one I did after, I did it before, yeah, I did it before the class, you're right. But I started it, I think, while on vacation.
It has come along so nicely. And it is beautiful. I think you have surpassed the reference by a long shot. This is so much more interesting and lovely. Things are really laying down nicely. I love the contrast of those auburns, or, you know, it's kind of got that Venetian red feel to it versus the grays. It's a lovely color harmony. I mean, you should definitely frame this one up. It will go great in a number of rooms. And well, if you have colors like we do in our house at all, this would look great. This color combination is just delightful.
Thank you.
Look at how our eyes read this is kind of greenish. It may be a little bit green, but I like that it's a little bit of a different color, but it's not garish like the reference photo is. Yeah, you've definitely surpassed the reference. This is the reference, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, yours is 10 times better than this.
Oh,
Way to
thank
go.
you.
Yeah, I mean, these green spots are nothing but annoying to me. You made it so much more interesting and have depth and movement. I like your structure. Great job. Do you have a new painting from this last week at all, Michelle?
No, I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's sorry to call it. Maria, this is so nice. Great. It's so good to see painting by Maria here. Just what colors, so nice. I mean, I squint my eyes and it's getting photographic. It's so well rendered and the transitions are so nice. Just the right amount of texture in areas, and then it goes back to the not. If I see the signature, which oftentimes signifies I am done, time for the next one. You could have, and maybe in the photo, these darks are getting a little darker than they are. But you could have played up just to keep in line with the idea of playing up the light and shadow families a little bit. You could have played up some of the colors in here, again, thinking back to Laura's painting there in the path, but you don't need to by any stretch. This is really, really nice. I want to praise you for what's going on here. That is top notch. I mean, that is so subtle. The warms versus the cooler darks. If we squint our eyes, it all flattens out just like it would in real life. As things get further away, the values get closer together and the temperatures get closer together. And this, you can still see that there's structure in these hills. There's, a shadow side and the light side, but so subtle and so beautifully rendered. That is just great. Back here, they become kind of one value. These darks back here, maybe somewhere in between the darks in the foreground and the darks back here, they could get pushed back just a little more, or maybe a little more separation here above, but it doesn't bother me much. So, again, I see the signature and I think that this painting is also ready for its frame. Just, yeah, great job. When I saw this, I was just thrilled. And it really always nice to see a new painting by Maria. So thank you. I don't know if Maria's on here with us at all, but great job. Anybody have anything they want to add or ask about that? I don't think Maria's on here, but more Lara's nice paintings. Sully's beautiful. Top. Do we have any? Denise, is this your newer one? I like to ask you questions right when you take a bowl of or bite of cereal. Sorry, I can't hear you, Denise, if you are talking.
Oh, there we go. Okay, hi.
Hey, how's it going? Great. Very nice. Is this the one for this last week with the light and shadow?
That was a while back. Yeah, light and shadow, I guess. No, that was Big Sky.
Big Sky. Oh, I think I went all the way to your personal page there. Yeah, let's take a quick peek and we can go ahead and use kind of all we've been talking about a little bit. Denise is always so good with having nice, strong shapes, and I think you're really quite great with design and stuff. So yeah, tell us a little bit about this and how it related to the focus or the subject that you were working on.
I guess I was just experimenting to see if I could make a cloud look convincing, and have that larger cloud at the top come forward and the ones at the back recede. So it looks like there's layers of perspective in the clouds. So you were saying the assignment was the big sky. So it's more focused on that. And then one of your previous paintings from another class that I completed, but I didn't post it here because it was from another series from your classes. I saw how you take the trees and lay in a dark and a medium and a light to describe the volume turning in space. But I'm having a hard time once I use like the shop brush to blend the edges, it tends to turn into a flat mass.
Yeah, I have that same issue. Yeah, the shop brushes aren't the end all be all by any stretch. And when using them, just like we've been talking about the pressure and about using our magic wand or our conductor's wand, whatever it is. I'm going to steal that, Michelle. I love that the wand. I think that, yeah, it can be tough, especially when you have a lot of paint on there. But I don't see that as an issue in this. I see it really nice. The cloud is great. And those warms as darks, again, if I squint my eyes at it, that looks like a cloud that I could just simply see if I looked out my window, just floating by. Those warms underneath are so nice. And it really does want to come forward. I think your mission in the sky was highly successful. And I love your soft lost edges and areas and your more crisp edges. This transition back here, look at that. So subtle. And then you're playing up shapes that you want us to look at a little stronger transition. Really nice. I think that these trees and things could be a little more interesting. And then, yeah, this does want to flatten out, and the light source gets a little lost on this. It feels a little different than on these trees. These feel like it's from left to right, from above, kind of up here, kind of like it does in this cloud. They're feeling like they're lit the same. These trees don't seem to have that. You could simply just come in and bring in a little bit of shadow or, cooler colors underneath if you wanted to. Very nice.
I think I've played with it since then and tried to make that mass on the left a little bit bluer.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm still having the same problem though. It seems to just, the colors that I add to it when it's wet just kind of sink in. And
Beautiful.
also I'm using the palette knife quite a bit.
Oh, I can definitely see that. Yeah. Good for you. I can see a lot of experimentation in brushwork going on, because I see this as a shop brush, letting the kind of natural organicness that a shop brush wants to bring in. And again, you guys, all these tools, like I don't want you to use shop brushes if that's not your thing. I don't want you to use brushes if palette knife is what you'd like to experiment. Just play, experiment with whatever it is. Very nice. This painting has a great feel. It's very kind of early or late summer kind of feel, possibly. And excuse me. Yeah, it's nice.
Thank
There
you.
is a little bit of a stacking going on between the edge of this and the edge of this. Design wise, this could have come in a little more or out a little more. But
You know what's funny is that's kind of intriguing. The stacking and the big cloud on top, that makes a just sort of a real draw for the eye, or at least it does when I look at it.
no, it really does. And if you're doing it purposely for design, there's a lot of artists that do that where they line things up, because look at this angle.
Yeah.
That angle. And one of my very favorite professors, R.V. Smith, and when I was going to art school, he did that all the time. And it was wonderful. He really, really worked his designs out.
And Mark Bona does that. Mark Bona, whatever his name is.
Yeah. How would we say his name? Yeah, exactly right. So that's, again, I'm just pointing it out just in case you weren't quite aware of it. But, you could just say, nope, I knew. I did it on purpose, Mike. Good job.
Not really. I mean, I just get it unconsciously.
It's nice though. Very good. Anybody else? I'm realizing that class is half over, and if I'm going to actually do 2 paintings, I should probably get to the easel here. So again, I'm not trying to pick on anybody at all. If I'm not commenting on your work during class, I just kind of went down the line. If before class next week I haven't spoke about your work, or you have something you would really like me to, or even during the week you'd like some feedback, just shoot me an email or a message on Facebook and let me know, and I will make a point to either talk about it next class or or in between classes. Or we can even make time if you want to do a quick phone call with me. That's probably okay too. But yeah, great job, everybody. I'm just going to take a little break. My throat is getting super scratchy, as you can hear. And I want to get painting, and I want you guys to get painting, or at least get watching painting. So let's go ahead and stop share. Get back to here, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And we're going to take go ahead and do a 10-minute break. We'll take a longer break, and then I'll just paint for the rest of class, or as long as my scratchy throat. Let's go. And so